This is our finale luncheon for the 21-22 season. And what a great season and what a great group we have today. So thank you for coming. The Economic Club is the place to be challenged by leading speakers and advance great ideas collectively. My name is Kathy Langham, and I am President and CEO of Langham Logistics. It has been an amazing season, and it's so good to see so many people here and in person again, and I think we have a sellout crowd here, so congrats on that. I have been very honored to serve as president of this organization for the last 2 years. If you haven't already, take out your phone and make sure you're scanning the QR code at your place. That will give us your email address, and our awesome program committee has been hard at work lining up a stellar roster for the 22-23 season. I think that starts in September. So your check-in with that QR code will get you connected with us for the announcements of the upcoming season, as well as the latest news and information on the club. Before I introduce the President's Table, I'd like to take a moment and thank this season's presenting sponsor, One America. Please join me in a round of applause for One America. Let's also take a look over my left shoulder at the platinum sponsors. And the banners outlined in gold are the organizations that have been sponsors for at least 10 years. So thank you, platinum sponsors. Let's expand today's conversation through social media. So please get out your phones and post, tweet, like us, so your colleagues and friends will know that you are at the Economic Club today. Roger Penske is the founder and chairman of Penske Corporation, a closely held, diversified, on-highway transportation services company. The Penske companies, they operate in retail automotive, truck leasing, transportation logistics, and motorsports. Penske Corporation manages multi-billion-dollar businesses. We'll hear more about them. They employ over 60,000 people worldwide. The subsidiary companies are Penske Transportation, Penske Automotive, Penske Performance, and Penske Entertainment. A lot of people may not know this, but Roger Penske began his career as a race car driver and then transitioned over the years, as you all well know, into team owner for IndyCar and NASCAR teams. As an owner, he is an 18-time Indy 500 winner, and earlier this season, his teams achieved their 600th win. And that is a big deal. Congratulations. Mr. Penske also received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2019. That is the highest civilian award in the United States. Mark Miles serves as President and CEO of Penske Entertainment Corp, which is comprised of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, IndyCar, and IMS Productions. From January of 2013 to January of 2020, so for 7 years before the Penske acquisition, Miles was President and CEO of Holman & Company, the previous owners. Miles and his incredible leadership team presided over the sold-out 100th running of the Indianapolis 500 and have had several years of attendance and viewership growth for the NTT IndyCar Series. Prior to entering the world of motorsports, Miles was president and CEO of CICP, the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership, Prior to that, he ran the ATP Tour, which for golf fans, this is the tennis equivalent of the PGA Tour. In 2008, Miles led a successful effort to earn Indianapolis the right to host Super Bowl 46 and served as chairman of the board of the 2012 Super Bowl Host Committee. So please join me in welcoming Roger Penske and Mark Miles to the stage. Again, feel free to use the blank cards on your table if you have any questions. And full disclosure, I am a very proud member of the Penske Entertainment Board, and so it's a personal highlight for me to be able to sit with these two gentlemen and enjoy a few questions together.
I'm going to start with Roger and then move over to Mark after that. So, Roger, this audience is largely from Indiana, and we think of Penske as Penske Entertainment. So IMS and IndyCar and IMS Productions. But Penske is a massive organization. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Kathy, first let me thank you for the kind invitation and all the great Hoosiers that are here today. I thought this was a victory banquet I was coming to today, so I'm just warming up for the 19th, I guess. But no, on a serious note, you know, I've had the opportunity for a number of years to build a company of great people who are committed. And today, when you look at it, Penske Corp is a private holding company. And we have a retail automobile business, which is one of the pillars. It's a New York Stock Exchange company under PAG. We delivered 460,000 new and used vehicles last year in 2021 with revenues of about $25 billion. And we operate on 4 continents and in 9 countries. So we're seeing all different types of business from an automotive perspective. And within PAG, we also have Premier Truck Group, and this is a heavy-duty Freightliner dealership group headquartered in Dallas, and we're one of the largest in the country, and it's right down where our fastball is in trucks and certainly in transportation. And then in Australia, part of PAG, the same public company, we have truck distribution and power systems, and there it's obviously we have MAN, Western Star, and Dennis Eagle, but probably more interesting to the folks here is we represent Allison Transmission in New Zealand and Australia, Detroit Diesel, and also MTU. MTU is an engine that would be in a big mine haul truck on East and Western Australia. It would be in big construction equipment. A lot of data centers we're providing opportunity to use our engines. These are 4-liter per cylinder engines. Probably one cylinder is as big as the engine in your car you drove here today, typically. So imagine the size of these. And then we have a direct single source contract with defense. So we're working on the Collins class repowering of the submarines. So we've really tried to tie ourselves to transportation and technology in Pillar 1, which would be, you know, obviously our automotive business and trucks. The second pillar would be Penske Transportation Solutions, which I started, I guess, 50 years ago in Reading, Pennsylvania, as a Hertz truck licensee, car licensee. We had 300 vehicles. We had 150 cars and 150 trucks. And I'm glad to say that we hit our target at the end of Q1. We're 373,000 units in North America on the road now. So you've seen some of the yellow trucks, but this is a great story to see the people that we started with, and now we're across the country with that fleet. And we certainly have logistics and we have rental. And to think about that growth and the mission for the company as we go into 2025 is to be at 500,000. And that takes young people. We hire probably 200 young people a year to come in as trainees, apprentices you might call them in a trade business, come in and they work up through the organization. You can go to Harvard, you can go to Indiana, you can go anywhere, but they don't teach you how to deal with people. So we put them right at the rental counter. They gotta learn the truck, Got to learn how to meet people. And that's one of the big things today with the phones and everybody Zooming. We just don't have that high-tech, high-touch feeling anymore. So we've tried to project that within the organization over time, and that business continues to grow. And right now, the supply chain for us to provide trucks, we're out of trucks. We don't have enough trucks to supply our customers, Kathy, as you know, in your business. So that's been terrific. And our logistics business is similar to Kathy's, where we're providing, dedicated carriage, warehousing, and other things across many, many key companies. So that business does about $11 billion in revenue, and it's got 37,000 people. So 24,000, think about it in the auto side, 37,000 we have in the PTS side. So we're people intensive, and as we talked at lunch, it's tougher and tougher now to get people to hire them. They want to work from home. Our business are essential. Our people have to be there to drive a truck or load one or do what we have to do. So those are things that we're fighting, every day. Not fighting, but I think trying to manage. And I think what we've done, and I think it's interesting to talk to folks here, is we've stepped up our recruiting. We probably have 200 to 300 recruiters today out there every single day telling our story. And it's amazing what that's been able to do. We've just amped up our ability to hire people. And one thing I've said to Mark, we want to be hard to get in and hard to leave. And when you look at the turnover in our business, it's running about 17 to 18% in automotive, and the typical automotive business is about 60. Just think about it. You go to the race shop in North Carolina, and there's a board there. Out of our 400 people, there's probably 30 to 35% of them have been there over 20 years. Think about that. And that's why we're successful out here. It's that domain knowledge. It's a thing that you don't think about. And every year you go here, we learn something different. The third pillar, Kathy, would be our Penske Entertainment. And I have to say, he's the best salesman I've ever met. He sold me the Speedway. Sold me the Speedway before COVID.
We're going to ask about that.
And unfortunately, the check cashed, didn't it?
It did.
No, I'm kidding. Really, if I had to do it again, I'd do it again. I've never been more thrilled to be able to be part of a company, a family that took on the stewardship of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the other companies associated with it. Having been here with my dad in 51, and 47 times we've competed here as a team, and our winning percentage is 38% when you think about that. So, I mean, it's a high-pressure thing for us, as a team every year, and the drivers and the execution. And it says, Six Sigma is not good enough here. You make one mistake out there, and you go from the front to the back. And many of you have been to that race and know that. But with Team Penske, obviously, IMSP, which is the business that we have that is doing the production. And I'm glad to say that I think our TV ratings are up about 31%, which is great. It's a credit to Mark and his team. But we decided to take IMSP. Instead of doing bull riding and Mecum auctions, I said, let's just make this thing the best engine in the company. Let's make it so it's doing the best production. What equipment do we need? And I think it's showing we're getting some momentum out of this now. So, we're pretty exciting. And of course, the track itself, Mark, I just thank you in front of all these people. Terrific job. Doug Bowles, Doug and many of the other people there are just outstanding. And we've committed. We didn't realize in January 6th of 20 that we wouldn't have a race. Think about that. Then we did have a race in August. Guess what happened? No people. So we've come a long way.
Yeah.
And to think about it, the people that were coming from overseas, it's just amazing. But I would say that as we sit here today, we're up about 10% over 19. We're using 19. Mark's wanted to use 19 as kind of the benchmark for us as we go forward. But it's going to be exciting. We're going to have music back. Snake Pit, Carburation Day. I haven't experienced those yet, so I wasn't the
Mark's
first.
been trying to educate him.
I'm not sure I'm going to the snake pit, but anyhow, we're going to have it. But that's kind of the company, and again, with the number of people we have, and we service 4 million cars a year, and we sell a car every 1.1 minutes. So one commercial. We just bought the Hyundai store in Genesis out in Noblesville yesterday. I wanted to be sure I did something in Indiana before I showed up here today.
Awesome.
That's too much, probably.
No, that's great, and we're going to get to this sales presentation to Roger. But you brought up cars again, and I know we have all experienced the car shortage. You know, new cars are hard to find, and used cars are hard to find and expensive. So where do you see all this going?
Well, you know, first we had COVID,
Yeah.
then we had supply chain, as you well know, and then, of course, the war in Ukraine. And looking at the new car supply, and this is on a worldwide basis because we're dealing, you know, primarily with every 35 different brands out of our 309 locations. But right now, we're looking at a supply chain. Just think about this. One of the big manufacturers at the end of March of last year could have had 250,000 vehicles in inventory, okay, at the dealerships. They had 25,000. We had 14,500. We had 2,500. Think about that. In the U.S., we had about twice that maybe in the U.K. where we have an operation. So we see supply going to be very tough for a number of months. I think it's going to take more than a year to get back. Then we got to decide what's going to be the inventory levels, because we've learned to operate with less inventory. People like yourselves want to order a car. We're selling into the pipeline with what you want rather than just buying the car that's on the lot. We see that. Credit is still, there's plenty of credit available, but I think we're going to see this on for quite a bit. And then, of course, you've got electrification coming, and the manufacturers are all spending money in R&D, so they're looking at other ways to take costs out as we go forward. But I think it's going to be a while, Kathy, before we see anything. But on the other hand, used car prices are way out of line right now. I mean, they're probably, if you look at our used car business we have called Car Shop, this is a one price. The cost of sale is up $8,500 per unit. So we were selling vehicles at around $20,000. That vehicle now is almost $30,000. We see the same thing in Europe. So, and what is driving pricing higher than you can buy a new car, but you can't get them. So to me, that's going to be an issue here for a while.
So you think could be a couple of years?
I don't know if it's a couple of years. I think we got for this year for sure and into next year. And some will do better, but what you're seeing today, they're shipping us cars, but without seat heaters and other things, and people are taking them because they want new vehicles. And that's going to affect residual value for the people that buy them. It's going to affect the residual value coming out. Interesting. There's less leasing being done now, and more people are buying with cash and financing, which is completely different than it was maybe 12 to 18 months ago.
Isn't it great that people know what supply chain logistics means now?
Supply chain and is certainly the words that people are using. That's the excuse of the day. Well, supply chain, right?
Right.
Again, I think there's no question that the disruption and think about it. Prior to maybe things opening up after COVID, the industry and supply chain was more industrial. Think about that. Because it wasn't consumer, was it? We were all at home. People were buying online. Well, now people are getting out, coming out. So airlines are flying today. People are going to restaurants and other things. And that's making a difference. So you're seeing a little bit of shift in that. And when you think about availability, if we went back to the first of the year, there were 21 loads available for every truck. So that means, you know, it was high demand and no equipment to run it, supply chain. As we ended here, the end of the quarter, it was 8. And I think it's going to 4 if we get the report here coming in here for April. So there is a question that there is some loosening up of equipment. So we'll see what that does to delivery and supply.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And I'm hearing now that a lot of retailers are ordering for Christmas.
Correct.
because of the problems in the supply chain. So, and July 1, the longshoreman's contract is up at the Port of Long Beach. So, I mean, it's just a never-ending look at what's going on. I'm in the trucking business, and I will say, I'm just adding this more as a comment than anything, and kind of building on what you said about your employees and hiring people and recruiting and training, but every driver, and I'm serious, every driver wants to work at Penske. I mean, Penske has this culture that these drivers feel, they feel part of a team, and they know this is a home, tough to get in and tough to leave, so, kudos to you.
Thank you.
It's obvious in the industry. Well, let's move to IndyCar. Mark and Roger, well, last time you spoke to this group, I think you both did, was in September of 2016, way before the acquisition of 2020. And then right afterwards, I think like 7 weeks after you bought it, the pandemic hit. It changed everything. But it feels like IndyCar and IMS are on a trajectory that is fantastic, and there's a lot of momentum. How do you do that?
Here's the man right here. I'll let you explain all that. Anything goes bad, I take the blame. He gets all the credit here. So let's give him a little credit here today, right? How's that?
IndyCar is on a roll. IndyCar is growing in every respect, and it's a tribute to lots of different things. First of all, the racing is great sport. The car, the drivers, what happens on the track is exceptional, and I think is compelling when people look at it compared to any sport. So obviously you got to have the right sport if you're going to expect people to come and watch it, and it's got to be exciting. They've got to have a great experience. We have real cohesion among the stakeholders. Sometimes commissioners and people who run leagues can't say that, and when you have a lack of alignment and people are going in different directions, it can make everything much more challenging, but we really haven't had that problem for a long time now, thankfully. And Roger, as the stakeholder before the investor, was a big part of understanding how important that was and working closely with us. We just keep trying to do everything better. It's really effort and a great team of people that help us do that. So I could go on for a very long time about specifics. Where we race matters. Last year we added Nashville. Some of you were there. It was a phenomenal event right there, taking over a happening city and showing off, I think, IndyCar in a great way. This year we're going to go to, it doesn't sound quite the same, but you watch, we're going to go to Iowa on a really short oval that's sensational racing. What are they, 18, 20-second laps, something like that, right, at Iowa? Hard to imagine. But we're working with Hy-Vee, this fast-growing grocery store chain. They're great people there. They're bringing in 4 humongous country music bands to punctuate the weekend, and in its own way, that's going to be Nashville. People are going to flock, and it'll have a big regional footprint, I think. We work hard with our sponsors like NTT on how to develop technology that'll help us create content that will be more compelling to fans, and on and on and on. We are growing. We raced in the heart of NASCAR country last weekend in Alabama, the Barber Raceway, and it was sold out Saturday and Sunday. The event, the first event of the year in St. Petersburg, Florida, was sensational. It was the biggest attendance they'd had. They had to add extra suites. Really very successful, and you got there, it was just exciting. Mm-hmm. And then we were in Long Beach, and that's a couple 100,000 people for that weekend. So the events are doing great. Television ratings, as Roger said, are up this year by more than a third. It's total audience delivery. That's in no small part to our relationship with NBC, which now has 14 of our 17 races. So it's really a network sport now as opposed to cable, and that's obviously very helpful. So there's lots going on, and it's all good. And there's going to be a big Formula One race in Miami this weekend.
Yeah.
And we're saying, yeah, and then we'll all come to Indianapolis for the biggest spectacle in racing.
That's right.
You know, one note that I picked up this morning, the average age of the 3 drivers on the podium this past weekend was 22 and a half years old. So this shows that the young guns are coming, and it's going to make this race, you know, this year. These guys are hungry. They throw it out. I mean, they just go for it, and it's going to make it really exciting with the older pros, and you bring in, and Elio's going for his 5th. Think about that. You know, I kid him all the time. I say, you know, 3 of those you won in our car, so don't be running around that Auto Nation all over the front of your damn uniform.
Well, and another thing that struck me was during the pandemic, when you were trying to figure out what is going to happen, instead of hunkering down, you doubled down on redoing the track and the whole speedway area and the golf course and all that. And that was pretty incredible to be making that sort of investment during that time.
Well, I think that when we got together, and, you know, I had the benefit of sitting with Mark and Tony George, and we came to an agreement, you know, very quickly, because this was something, if you're going to do, we had to get it done. We thought we were going to race, and we wanted to own the track so we could, what other changes we wanted, but obviously that went out the window. So we had the time between then and closing to start to look at what we could do. And the one thing I said, it's going to be only about guest experience. It's not to sell one more program or one more ticket or one more parking spot. It's got to be about guest entertainment. So we walked the speedway. I mean, not once, not twice. I mean, it's we saw that there was a critical need in certain of these areas that we wanted to invest in. So we went ahead. We invested almost $30 million now between when we bought it to today. You know, $1 million at the golf course, and then the things that we've done. Hopefully the ones that will be there, you'll see that. But that was the thing we did as a team. You know, Tyrone Garrison and Allison and all our people that were involved, Doug, and we all sat down to determine what was the things we needed to do, and hopefully it's going to make it a safer place, fun to bring your kids and your friends, and that's my goal as we go forward and execute a safe race. So. That, don't you think, Mark, that was...
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of sitting down to talk about it.
Well,
So I remember one cold weekend day when we started out right out the backside of the administration building in that restroom in the first turn, and then went north to the next one, and then the next one, not just the restrooms. Before we knew it, we were all the way around, past 3, halfway down the back stretch. This is, you know, the place. It's not a small place. And then we cut across the golf course, and we finally got back to the admin building. And I think I said, Roger, are you tired? Because I'm tired. This is a long walk. How about we use golf carts next time?
that's right.
We have covered every inch of the place multiple times. But think about it. You not only, I'll forget about the, you know, working capital, but he didn't have the ability to sell a ticket in 2020. And that's a big deal for that place, right? And invests another $20 million at the time, more now, because really he saw the opportunity. We didn't have to get everything done in a minute. You know, we could keep going because we weren't going to have the crowd. And that lemon got turned into lemonade. Can't wait for everybody to see it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Check out the restrooms even. But when Roger bought the track, so you had this big sales job ahead of you. You were selling the speedway. There were a few people.
He told me there wasn't anybody. That's what he told me.
Oops. Well,
I'm
no,
just
there were a
kidding
couple
you.
others. There were some
I'm just
competitors.
kidding
And I will tell you, the whole world was excited when you bought the track. I mean, there was not one, you know, whenever there's an acquisition, there are naysayers and this and that. Everybody was so excited. Mark had this amazing sales job, and to one of the biggest, you know, investors in IndyCar, and then COVID hit. What was that first day of work like when you had your new boss who had just spent lots of money on the track, and then there wasn't going to be a race?
Well, the first day of work started I think probably before we signed the LOI in November of 19. So, you know, way before this, again, Roger doesn't waste any time. And so we knew we were going to get there and started to work. And Roger and his team in Detroit were down frequently, and it's just always forward and constructive. And there were funny times. I think I've told this story before. We were over the Holman Terrace Club area, sort of above the fourth turn. We were looking back across the track at the area below the Tower Terrace suites, and one of our team members had an idea about building these small suites in there instead of all those seats. And Roger said, yeah, that could be a good idea. Let's mock it up. Let's just tear some of those seats out and go ahead and build one, then we'll see if we like it. And his general counsel tugged me on the elbow and he said, he forgot he doesn't own it yet.
That's right. We were going,
whoa.
So, Mark, to build on that, what would you see, just pretend he's not here, what would you see as the keys to Roger Penske's success?
Oh, this is good. You want me to give my boss a job evaluation in front of a bunch of people. No, it is so clear, and I've worked with some spectacular people over the years. The first thing that comes to mind is preparedness and effort. Roger is always prepared. The amount of time he spends on the little tiny things and the big things is truly exceptional, and his mastery of both the big picture and the details is unlike anything I've ever seen before. But you don't get that just because you want to be prepared. You work hard. Yeah. And he is known for that, but I can tell you he is the hardest worker I've ever been around. I think a second thing is a bias toward action understates it. It's if there's something needs to be done, we do it immediately. We don't use the word coordinator committee. You know, it is something needs to be done. Well, how are we going to do it, and how quickly can we get it done? No wasted motion. Time is of the essence, and somehow, as much as that's true, it comes with that attention to detail. You can still achieve phenomenally, great results. And then he's already talked about, I think, people. He's shown me in many ways how much you probably know the first names of way over half the people in the organization, because he cares, and he wants to work with them, and he doesn't. There aren't a lot of layers. There's no bureaucracy. It's who does what, whose name's in the box, and then figure out exactly what we're going to do and get it done. So, and he cares deeply about the people. It's not just that he doesn't want them to leave because attrition is expensive. It's because they're his family. Incredible combination.
Yeah.
thank you.
Fantastic. So, Roger, if you could pretend Mark's not here.
No, he can make that true, really.
Hey, would you step out of the room for a few
I'll go on to
minutes?
something else. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I think the most important thing about Mark Miles is you become a good friend.
Yeah.
I think, we can talk about business leadership, we can talk about execution, but Mark has become a friend, and I think that, we come in like a windstorm. Think about it. Here he's run the place. He's been a steward for the Holman family and really helped them get to where they are and execute this. And we come in with having experience, obviously, in the speedway business. We own Michigan. We built California. So it wasn't our first rodeo, obviously, not to the size and my experience there. But I think Mark and I have worked very well together, super well. We probably talk once or twice a day on aspects, and we make a decision. And he'll get together the team. I'm really impressed that every time that I come in, we've got an agenda. We've got items that we need to go through, and Mark has got his team ready to go through them, so the decision can be made. And I've always said, I want to be in the pre-meeting. I want to know when we can discuss things. And Mark gives us that opportunity, yet we can move forward. I don't think we ever leave a day that we haven't taken 4 or 5 things that we say, let's go, but we've added probably 10 more. That's the only problem. But great guy, great family, and I think the team that he has around him have done a great job. And one thing I wanted to say that in his credit, and to go back, you know, during COVID, Mark and the team said, how can we give back, you know, to the community, and Doug and the team. And the first thing, Mark recommended that we go to the town of Speedway, and they couldn't have their graduation. Think about all these kids. So what they did, they had the parents come with their children in their car, drive around the Speedway, land at the yard of bricks, and we gave them their diploma. Just these are things right here. This guy shows you what kind of person. Then after that, we went to the governor and the state and the city and said, what could we do to help? And people were testing for COVID, right? And after that, we said, all right, the next step was vaccinations. And Mark and the team arranged for 100,000 vaccinations. I didn't know that. Maybe somebody used the track to get that done. It was really done well. And probably the thing that brings tears to my eyes was that in 2020, Breanne Leith, an African-American police officer in Indianapolis, was shot and killed. And we decided that we would offer the Speedway to have the funeral. We had the governor. We had the governor, the mayor, and many, many dignitaries. And when I got there, the whole racetrack was filled with police cars. Amazing, just think about it today. And then, you know, after and the funeral was over, she made a victory lap as a hero at the track. Amazing, thanks to him. So that's how I feel
Actually,
about it.
Kathy, we've got a bunch of team, Roger's mentioned team. Can our team over there stand up? I can't see who all's here. And Joe Hale from the museum's here too. Please stand and thank you.
Well done. Changing gears a little bit, a lot of times automotive, cars, and trucks don't, you know, associate with sustainability, but for you they do. So can you talk a little bit about the sustainability efforts that Penske is instituting?
Well, obviously, sustainability, inclusion, and diversity are now at the very top of our list from an overall company perspective. We had an ESG report we put out at the end of 2021. And what we've done is we have one person, minimum one person full-time in each one of our companies that's measuring our sustainability and what we're doing as a company. And it could be many different things based on the businesses. And then I meet quarterly along with our management team to measure it. And we've partnered with Shell and Waste Management and people like that that are helping us, you know, on the journey. When you think about our vehicle fleet, you know, today we've got electrified vehicles, probably about 800 between what's on order and what we have operating, you know, throughout the country. And specifically in California, we have a warehouse that's carbon-free for Starbucks, and we run an electric lane. We call it the green lane. Only electric trucks deliver that night for Starbucks. So we've gone that far now. We've got to get partners that want to do that because it's more expensive, there's no question. And interesting, we started out with a diesel truck following this truck, you know, for the first 4 or 5 months in case we had a breakdown. Then it was a matter of having enough battery life in order to get the job done. Well, we got it all run, so we're running well. In fact, when you think about motorsports, just to quickly move to motorsports, those same tractors are going to be taking the Firestone tires in and out of the track from their distribution warehouse, you know, during the month of May. So we're certainly excited about that. And we put in 150 kW chargers out at the track. As you know, if you've been there, we took all the paper hand towel things out of the restrooms and put in electric air dryers. So those are things we're looking at. LED lights throughout our properties, LED LEED certified locations that are very, very important to us. And then we have I said, how can we as an industry, meaning the racing teams, make a statement? We said, let's go to reformulated, correct? Renewable, sorry, I keep renewable fuel for the transporters. We use it in California in our trucks, but they don't have it this far. So we're going to bring it across country, and we'll have a special place here that all the teams can fuel up, and then we'll have a relay stop if they don't have enough fuel to run the distance, and we'll provide renewable fuel for the teams starting after the Indianapolis 500, and that'll be for our industry. So we're going to be the first. So, you know, emissions, NOx, and particulates and things like that, we're going to try to be really neutral when it comes to that. So those are things, a few that I can say kind of across our businesses.
Thank
And
you.
we put in 1,100 chargers already, you know, in our auto business. So we're trying to stay with the times.
That's great.
Let me add two more.
Yeah.
So I think eventually for IndyCar racing, the fact that we're going to add a hybrid motor to the internal combustion engine for 2024 is sensational, and it's very interesting, innovative technology that's people are working very hard to develop. Roger's very involved in that. And by the way, for race fans, it's going to add over 100 horsepower, I think, so the boost is going to make a performance difference, we hope. And then the other Firestone story is this new rubber, Waiuli tires. So we announced this, but if you're race fans, you know that the alternate tires got the red sidewall. Well, it'll be green, literally, instead of red, and it will be made from the Waiuli plant, which is much more sustainable. Took me a while not to call it guacamole, but I got it now. And you'll see that in the Pit Stop Challenge this May, and then they're going to actually run it as the tire at our race in Nashville, and then presumably it'll roll out full scale next year.
Wow. I'm going to hit a couple of audience questions, one or two. I've gotten a few questions on, will Formula One return to IMS?
Well, we'd love to have a Formula One race. I think it's, right now, we're trying to, you know, swallow what we bought. To be honest, think about, we're all in the same company here now, trying to decide. Formula One is, you know, millions of dollars a person, what we have to do to meet the requirements, and we need to work through COVID, work through buying the track. I think we want to have another big event. Is it a sports car event or is it a Formula One race? I don't think it's going to happen overnight, because you've got Miami coming this weekend. They're talking about a race in Las Vegas. This afternoon we have a head of the FIA worldwide coming out to the track to see it. So, you know, we're trying to set the foundation for the future, but I wouldn't say we'd have one over the next couple of years, to be honest with you. Do you agree with that?
Completely.
Okay. And what about lighting for night races?
Well, it depends on, you know, I look at Daytona as a certain amount of lighting, and we've run some cars at night here just to see that. We would put in probably temporary lighting, because we wouldn't be running the whole oval, would we? We'd be running, if we ran at night, would be running on the, you know, on the road course. So that's obviously a CapEx thing that we're going to look at. Right now, we don't need it, and if we were going to have a sports car race, we probably got enough lighting across the front straightaway there in the pit area, and we might have to put some things in certain turns to give some idea, but that's part of the having a day-night type race that you have at many of these places.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, speaking of races, opening at the track is, what, 2 weeks away? The race is May 29th. I'm sure everyone's got their tickets. If not, they might be hard to get. But what do you see for this year's May?
Well, we are fired up. I mean, it's I hope, better than normal. It certainly will be in terms of the facilities, but we're doing great. As Roger said, the ticket sales are well ahead of where they were for 2019, which was, other than 16, the 100th running, the biggest in recent history anyway. And so that looks great. We're going to have a very big crowd. The infield's open. We couldn't do that last year. The music is all back. We're innovating a little bit on Saturday, the country music, the Legends Day concert will be downtown here at the new amphitheater, which we're really excited about. There is a widespread, carefully choreographed conspiracy to make sure Roger doesn't go near the snake pit. God help us. But no, it's you know, the team is so excited to be able to do it right again, and it's going to be a huge crowd.
I think one of the things you might have read in the paper here, we've announced for qualification weekend, if you're up, you know, we're going to qualify. By the way, we'll announce our 33rd entry here this week. So it's always a question by the press, you're going to have 33. Well, the competition is so tight now, and the teams are good. You follow me? There's not a lot of extra people who want to put something together because there's not the people to do it. But what we wanted to do was really make the qualifying weekend, just take it up another step. So on Saturday, you know, we'll qualify the 33 cars, and you'll have a chance to bump, because what we're going to do, the top 12 on Sunday between 4 and 6 will then have the opportunity to run for the pole. So we'll run all 12 of them, and the top 6 then will run a second time, and then that will determine the guys on the front row and who will sit as the pole position winner. That's going to be exciting, because I tell you, it's going to be the speed that we'll see. Where we tested out here, we saw close to 230. I think when we turn the boost up, you'll see more than that. And interesting to see who sits on the front row. But that's going to be a great weekend and something we're really excited about.
Very good. Well, I had an important question in the VIP reception before this. Will there be coolers allowed?
It's not, I don't make that decision. So if it doesn't work, it's not my fault.
Yeah, right. Yes, cooler policy is unchanged.
Okay,
It's
there you go.
that was Roger's call, really.
But you know something? No balloons.
No balloons, no balloons.
Someone asked me about sustainability here. Now, the question was, what do we do with balloons? And I'm not sure whether, but we decided that we haven't had them for a couple of years, and as much as we want to have them, and because it's part of the history, but we won't have balloons either.
Yeah, there you go, you heard it here. So we talked a bit earlier about the momentum of everything going on with IndyCar and IMS, and we've got an exciting May coming up. What is the future? What does the future look like for you?
Well, as far as the Speedway, someone asked if we're going to have a Formula One race. I think adding events.
Yeah.
One thing we have done is we've reached out to our OEM friends, and we're now having more events where they rent the track for 10 or 15 days, Kathy, and you know, they're bringing in salespeople, customers that want to have high-speed driving training and what have you. So we're going to continue to do that, and then we're looking at you know, where do what do the people want? We're seeing that today as we look at our suites, we've got a huge back order on people who would like a suite for the race going forward. So I think we'll probably invest in that area. And we built a performance center out between 3 and 4, which BMW will use. We'll use it during the race weekends for big groups that want to have it. So we'll continue. The golf course, obviously, as you know, we've let golf carts back on. Get them back on the course. I said after we spent all this time, I don't want everybody to go out there and tear it up with their golf cart. I was a bad guy, I can tell you. I think I had almost everybody quit over there, but we're back to golf carts, so we don't have to announce that, but no. I think we got a lot of things going, a lot of excitement, and again, we'll have more racing. I hope to have a sports car race there within the next couple of years for sure. Big sports car, I'd say, you know, multiple hours, 7-8 hour race, so could be exciting.
Wow. Anything to add?
There's a lot more. We're working with Verizon. It's not entirely done, but I think if you're at the track, you're going to be able to watch through a multi-view technology, watch the race in your hand, as well as get force, so other camera angles to show you different aspects of it. You can choose what you want to see. So I think that's great. That it's a big track, and that will certainly help the fan experience. I think IndyCar racing is just going to get better, so, and it's at its best in Indianapolis. So for the real fan, I think it's the future is really bright.
I think also we're going to add more cameras on the cars. I think that's really helped us a lot. If you watch any of the racing that's taken place, these car cameras are really key in what we're trying to. We like to get them on every car if we could for the 500. We won't be able to, but that's an area that we're going to go to get you closer to the driver and see what's going on. Obviously, you can follow, you can listen to the, the pit conversation. All those things only make us, make the sport closer, which I think is what we need to do. And then access. We look at Formula One, you can't even get close to the drivers. I think one thing we have, these autograph sessions at all these tracks, so people can come and be part of the sport and get to see their favorite driver or their favorite team. And I want to be sure that socially that we're just not a closed house here, we're open, and that's something that I want to be sure happens. What we've done, there at the Pagoda, we've opened that up. We put the big screen up. If you haven't been out the track from turn 4 to turn 1 on the paddock side, we put a new LED board so you can see what's going on if you're sitting up at a certain row level. And these are things I think that are small enhancements, but will make the guests have a great experience.
Well, I'm down to one question. There's 20 more, but I only have time for one, unfortunately. So this group would not be happy with me unless I ask this. You're spending a lot of time in Indiana over the last couple of years. What do you think of our Hoosier state, and how are we to do business with? Well,
look, number one, I think I became a Hoosier when I went to Culver Military Academy here when I was 14. So I go back.
We'll adopt you, yes.
That's a long time ago. And I spent 47 years here at the track, and say it's 10 days. That's more than a year I've spent in my life here out there in the garage area. We have 2,000 people working in the state today, with revenues over $600 million. So I think we're a Hoosier working with. I think I'd have to say the Speedway and working with the vendors that we've dealt with, the city. And, everybody has issues, and certainly the state has been unbelievable. Now, obviously, the track will bring some attention to us, but I would say that it would amaze me. And we deal in lots of states, but we can get access to the people that we want. We did that beforehand, and I'm very comfortable, with the way we're being treated as a company, number one, and certainly, as a shareholder of a big organization here. And I feel that people want to see us successful. You think about that. That's one thing I would say. Hoosiers are friendly, they're supportive, and that makes a big difference when you come in. We land at the airport. I mean, the guys out there, and we gave them some caps. I mean, they just can't do enough for you. So we love it. We're here to stay, and hopefully my family will be here a long, long time.
Yeah, great. Roger Penske, Mark Miles, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you.